quiet.
Welcome to the Power Trip Podcast Live. You're now tuned into Thursday evening chat with your hosts,
Charmaine
and Saquon.
Hello. Welcome back.
What's happening, people?
For all of you guys who are new and just joining us, thank you. And for all of our OGs who always come through on the weekly.
What's happening?
Yes. For all of you guys who don't know, every Thursday evening, we get together and we discuss controversial topics surrounding family, relationships, and community. And we have three main goals. So our first goal is to strengthen communication skills within our community. Our second goal is to expand our perspective so that we can gain a greater understanding. And our third and most important goal is to build exceptional families that will continue to uplift the world around us.
Right.
So hello, everyone. Please make sure you guys drop a comment down below. And if you are new to the page, please make sure you subscribe.
And like the video.
Yes.
Like us on Facebook if you're watching from Facebook as well.
Yes. And I'm going to share this. You guys know how we do. So I'm going to share this on Facebook. And
can't wait till we grow bigger and then we can hire someone.
Hi,
what's up,
Camille
Camille?
Stir. Hi, Aunt Chi
What's up,
Chi.
Aunt Chi? Yep, Aunt Chi Chi.
I just had
I just sent you it.
I know. Thank you, baby. All right. Let me send that. Okay. Real quick. How's everybody's evening going? Okay. Let me just share on my page really quick. We hope you guys are all doing well. Okay. Share. All right, perfect. Okay, so as you guys have seen from the title, or if you got the text or Facebook post, we are going to be talking about how do you discuss the birds and the bees with your children. So how do you discuss sex and sexuality with your children? And we have, let's see, Camille said, great, just having some dinner. Nice. We have a cute little clip that we're going to play.
Do you know where babies come from?
Bellies, duh.
From where?
Bellies, duh.
Whose bellies?
My mom's.
And how did the baby get in there?
I'm not sure. Sperm, egg, collide, blah, blah.
What do you mean, sperm, egg, collide? Where did you learn that from?
Nick, duh.
Who's Nick?
My brother.
What did he tell you?
Bad stuff.
Like what?
You do not want to know.
So, who provides the egg and who provides the what did you say?
The sperm. The mom provides the egg and the dad provides the sperm.
And how does the dad provide the sperm?
What do you mean?
Does he go to the store and buy it?
No, it's already in him.
What do you mean it's in him?
It's in him.
Where? Where?
In his body.
Where?
In his body.
You mean like in his ear?
No.
In his nose?
Nope.
Where then?
I'm actually not sure.
Oh, okay. And then how does Daddy give the sperm to Mommy?
They have sex.
What?
I told you Nick told me a lot of stuff.
What is sex?
Oh.
What? Nick didn't give details. I'm glad he didn't give you any details. Okay, so there's nothing about sex that you want to know from me or babies. Nothing.
No.
Nothing at all.
No.
So you have no idea how people have sex.
I do not want to know.
Okay, so that was just a cute little clip of a parent talking with a child who looks about like maybe 5, 6.
Probably
maybe,
so.
about sex. And clearly, older brother Nick was just spilling the beans. Hey, boo-boos.
What's up, Janae?
Alrighty. So, where did you want to start?
I guess we could start off with asking, I guess, just between us two, whether or not we even had that with our parents, and if so, how to go and things like that, and what age.
Okay. So, I feel like I had some type of talk with my mom. I don't remember what age. I think it was in middle school because we had the sex ed class.
Okay.
And they were showing like the pictures of the genitals with like STDs, like herpes, and I like and I think they had the parents there with us.
Really?
I think so, because I know, I wish mommy was on right now. But I just remember her, like, she'll always talk about like the faces I would make when they showed those pictures, because it was a lot. So I do think we had a discussion there. I don't really remember the full length of the discussion. And then the next the next time I remember having some type of talk about it was when I became sexually active.
Okay.
What about you?
No, I never had that talk.
No?
Never. I feel like by the time it was even mentioned, it had already passed by. Like the start already passed by, and it wasn't like, so my talk was so I know you be going out there hanging out with girls and stuff, so just make sure you use a condom. That was
it. Was just mostly about protection.
Yeah,
not wanting to get anything or get anyone pregnant.
Right.
Okay. That was and
I was 17.
Okay. When I lost my virginity, became sexually active, that's kind of what the talk was around that time too.
Okay.
Was about not getting pregnant. So did you guys get the talk with your parents? And at what age, if you don't mind sharing? And then also, were they pretty straightforward about it, or did they, kind of beat around the bush, or simplify it?
Let me ask you: Did you bring it to your mother, or she brought it to you?
She brought it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, that nah. Wasn't something that because I feel like I feel like the relationship with my mom growing up, like we were close, but it was really like an authority child relationship. Even though like we could have a lot of fun together, play around and stuff, but I knew like serious things or things that could kind of cross that line.
Right.
It was like you kind of tread lightly. But then as I got older, that relationship, got closer and closer to where we could discuss. Well, I felt more comfortable because I think I could have probably always discussed things with her. But me feeling comfortable discussing it got more comfortable probably as I got more comfortable myself, which is being, a young lady. And as our dynamics changed as I got older.
Right. I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
let's see. Hey, Khalid.
What's up, Khalid? She just says, laugh out loud. I got no talk, and I had no idea at all beyond what I heard from kids in school. I just knew I better not get pregnant.
I think that's like the bottom line. It's like, don't get pregnant.
Yeah,
don't get no one pregnant, and you better not be pregnant.
Right. What about you, Khalid? What was the deal in your household? Did you get a sex talk?
Yeah.
Or was it just straight up, don't bring no kids home?
Yeah. What was it?
Right. So let's just get it. Because we did a little bit of research on this. We looked a little bit not deep into it, but we looked into it.
Yes.
So what we wanted to try to give you guys is like more so a guide into, I guess, feeling comfortable and just having that conversation.
And how to kind of have the conversation. Go ahead.
On different levels.
Right. So an interesting fact that I found was that a lot of children by the age of 8, like if you try to have start the sex talk or sexuality and sex talk at 8, they already have an idea about it. So just like if you see like these videos where they're asking children like, where do babies come from? And, what do you know about how, mom and dad have a child?
Yeah.
They already have a notion or an idea on how a child is created. So it's better to start early for, an age appropriate conversation.
Yeah,
but it's good to introduce it at an early age because, like Aunt Chichi said, she got information from kids at school, and a lot of children.
Yeah, and it's not just
that.
school. Today, you have hypersexualized media.
Yeah.
So it's everywhere.
Yeah. It's in cartoons,
video games.
Yep.
Almost everywhere you look, something is being somewhat sexualized.
Yeah.
And it starts to open. It's just being exposed to our children at a younger age, so it just opened their minds up to new things.
Yeah.
Kylie says, when my mom found out I was doing the do, she just said, "Wrap it up." There was no sex talk, not even from my pops.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common that parents don't really have the talk. I think their biggest concern is like, be safe. Don't get pregnant. I don't want you to get STDs. And I think because it's such like a taboo type conversation or such an uncomfortable conversation for parents, it's like they don't really want to talk about it too much with their child or even imagine their child, in that light.
And I sometimes you're right. But what if it's also like an expectation thing to where like, where they were already doing it at a certain age. So by the time you get to this age, they're not going to tell you not to do it or anything. But I mean, they don't think to be more advanced and want to have a sex positive conversation. But they just tell you, all right, well, stay protected, no kids. Just because they don't like, sometimes they don't care. Some people look at it, hey, this is life.
I don't think my mom didn't care, but I understand what you're saying. I don't think that would necessarily stop someone from having the conversation though, because if the goal is like, just making sure you're protected and you have education, I feel like if a parent was just okay with you going out and doing your thing, then they would feel more comfortable talking to you.
Yeah, you don't think that's the case of some females though, that their mom just put them on birth control?
Oh yeah, that's true.
And they not necessarily having to talk with them, but they know that they're sexually active, so they just put them.
They're not even sexually active yet. I've heard conversations
they just think they around that age.
That's very true. Very, very true. Where they're just like, listen, I don't want to talk about it. I'm not dealing with it, but I know you're not going to be pregnant. Right. You're going to be on birth control.
Exactly.
Yeah, that does happen. That's a good point, hun.
And I think that comes based off who they were.
Yeah.
And
I guess from their own expectations or experiences.
And maybe also, because we talk about it a lot, maturity and things like that. It also possibly can be based on the child's maturity and who they associate themselves with.
Who the child associates themselves with?
Yes, at a certain age, when you start seeing them hanging out with certain people or whatever the case may be.
Then your parent, like as a parent, you just start making your own assumptions about what you think they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, question for you all and question for you, hun. When do you start the conversation about sex, sexuality? Like, when do you guys think is a good time to have the conversation and introduce it to your child?
Right. Yeah, that's a question for y'all. Y'all have to answer that one before I say anything.
Okay.
Because that's a good question, because I feel like digging into this a little bit, I learned more.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Because
there's levels to this.
Yeah, it's levels to it. Levels to it.
Okay, so we'll wait for you guys to respond on when do you think is the appropriate age to just introduce sexuality to your child. And then you can take it a step further and introduce when do you have the talk or talk about, sex.
Yeah. It still got me thinking. I feel like I don't necessarily have actual age.
It's really interesting. So while you guys are typing, I'll just talk a little. So it's really interesting. So as far as like sexuality, I think it's when you start just necessarily teaching your child something as simple. Okay, there we go. Aunt Chi wrote, so I'll wait. I'll read hers first.
Oh.
As soon as my children started to ask, showed interest, I let them know honestly, different for each one. Okay, so the age was different.
Okay.
So what I was going to say, though, is I think it starts as early as just knowing body parts, like understanding for sexuality.
Yeah. Did you always believe that, or did you start believing this today?
No, I always believed it because remember we had a discussion where I told you I was like in some of the Facebook groups I'm in, like positive parenting, conscious parenting, things like that. They talk about like young children have the desire, like they're just exploring their body, and sometimes they touch themselves.
Right.
And so at that age, you have to have the discussion. If you see them doing that, you want to explain to them and what's going on.
Right.
And then Camille, go ahead, Camille.
Camille says, perhaps when the child is showing signs that they are curious and starting to ask questions. And then Aunt Chichi says, yes, I agree. And calling body parts by actual names. You onto something. But no, okay. For one, what I seen was that's huge. Is calling body parts by their actual names, because it takes away this anxiety to talk about something forbidden. When you never call it what it is. I think that's one. And also it's cool. It's good to make sure that your kids are aware of their body parts as well, so that they can what's the word? Relay messages to you about things that may have happened to them, or things that's going on with them medically, or not medically but physically, and they're able to talk to a doctor if they can.
Yeah. And I've seen a fact, so kind of like what you were saying, the American Academy of Pediatrics, they were saying when you make up names for body parts, it gives like a taboo that the actual name is like something that should be hidden, kind of what you were saying. So it actually makes children more fearful to kind of bring up, like if they were being sexually abused or something happened to them. So when you actually call it by the actual anatomical name, they feel more comfortable to report sexual abuse without feeling, embarrassed about it.
Right. Don't put an extra layer of protection over something that should be open between you and your child.
Yep. And then let's see. Chi also said,
"Oh yeah, it's a good safeguard when it comes to sexual predators."
Yes, so right on point.
In what way though?
Because like they can't, like if their child knows like this is these body parts, this is private, no one should touch this body part, things like that, a sexual predator would be less likely to, take advantage of them.
I get what you're saying.
Yes. And then Miss Michelle says, then was told don't share this with other children. Oh, did we miss a comment? Okay. But if she's talking about maybe the sexual predators, like, or the body parts, you could teach them also not to share. Yeah.
Boundaries.
Yeah. And I think, so an important
and privacy.
Yes. No, you're fine, baby. So an important thing that we found too is that you don't want to make it awkward, even at a young age. Like you don't want to laugh about the names and stuff. It's as simple as saying like, okay, when you're doing just normal body parts, like this is your nose, this is your ear. And then you keep pointing to the body parts and just make it like a normal thing.
Right.
So they feel comfortable, because it honestly is normal.
Yeah.
We just make it uncomfortable.
Pretty much. And what they were saying and something I heard was basically a good way to do it is take advantage of as many opportunities as you can to expose them to the right things. As far as even if you were watching TV, and I guess yeah, because you know what I'm saying here thinking about, some things become X-rated or TV-14 or whatever they want to call it, like right? Rated
PG-13 and things.
Yeah, TV-14 is for TV, and then PG-13 is for movies.
Fun facts.
Yeah. But they make these things based off language sometimes, so you can expose your children to certain things like that and take advantage of what they're their lack, I guess. And
of now, like what they don't know yet, or what
no, the movie, because these movies may put something in a vulgar way. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's happening. It's a movie, whatever the case may be. But you can take that time to have a conversation with your child.
Yeah. So yeah, use those opportunities so it's not like you're just saying, oh, hey, let's have the talk.
Yeah.
And make it awkward. But it's like if something pops up, you can say, okay, well, you seen this part of the scene? Like, let's discuss it.
Right.
And then same also like when a family member is having a child, that's a great opportunity to have the conversation like, oh, do you know where babies come from?
Yeah.
And so, like we said earlier, there's levels to it. So from age maybe 2 to 4, you wouldn't necessarily discuss everything.
Right.
That's where you probably just, focus on body parts and just letting them know, what's a private body part. Children like to just touch on themselves wherever, and they don't mean any harm. So you don't ever want to scare your child into thinking like, oh no, don't do that, or make them feel embarrassed, but you let them know that this is your private part, and everyone has a private part, and you can explain the difference between a man's private part and a woman's private part. And that's also how they get to know the differences in, male and female. And then you let them also know that you don't touch anyone else in public or private. And you definitely don't touch yourself in public.
Yeah.
If they're curious, it's their body. So, you don't want to just say, oh, you don't touch yourself, it's bad.
Right.
Because they're just, it's going to cause confusion. They're only children, 3 to 5.
Yeah, they're not going to understand.
Yeah. And then at the next stage, when probably around I'd say 8 to 10, 12 years old, that's when a lot of children are starting to have early puberty signs. So some children may start growing hair, or with little ladies may have little breast buds coming in, and things of that nature. So then you can start explaining those things so that they feel comfortable with their body.
Right.
They know this is a normal part of just growing up. And you can even purchase books that are age appropriate that kind of go through it and read it with them. And just, I think the biggest thing also that you want to make sure is that your children feel comfortable coming to you about anything. And that you don't say, if your child does come to you and ask you, oh, what is sex? Or I heard this, that even if you're uncomfortable, you don't just shut them down, because then they'll feel like there's certain things they're unable to talk to you about.
Right.
And you always want to be their number one influence. And actually, there was another statistic that said most children, I believe ages 12 through 16, said their parents are their biggest influence when it comes to learning about sex and sexuality.
Right. Janae says, or when a young lady gets her period, or a young man has his first wet dream.
Yeah, exactly. So those are new experiences for them. And if they've never been exposed or had that explained, that can be scary. A little girl just, seeing herself, because nowadays we can go on a whole talk about this, but hormones and, different things out there, kids are starting to go through puberty younger and younger and starting to experience those things. So I agree. That's a good point, Booby. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And then, let's see. So then now once they're 13 and older, and unfortunately, sex is happening earlier. And so I do think when you were saying something you're still thinking about, what age would you bring up that conversation?
Right.
It changes, I feel with the times, because, well, no, I think in every generation, you had some young people who were a little bit more into things that they had no business being into for that age. But let's see. Aunt Gigi said, I'm very open about menstruation with both my children. Nice.
Yeah, I think that's important though.
But I do think, like Aunt Gigi said, if your child brings it to you, because I was like, both. Hey, Dolly.
Hey, my G.
If your child brings a sex conversation to you, whatever age, then you talk to them with what's appropriate for their age. Now, once they start being 13 and older, this is when, it's kind of running rampant Maybe not with your child, but in them streets. These kids are wild, okay? And the things that you hear that's happening in middle school, like I was just shocked when I hear the things that these children are doing nowadays.
It's crazy.
So you definitely, especially at this point, hormones are raging and attitudes are flying, but you want to make sure you keep that line of communication open.
Yeah.
And have the discussion about, sex if you haven't already. What is sex? And what are some of the consequences that can happen if you have sex? So STIs, you can pregnancy, and the emotional attachment that comes along with it.
Yeah, you could. I think it's good to explain these things, but I'm sitting thinking about it now. We're blurry. I'm sitting here and thinking about it now, right? How much can you tell a child, like, and without, and them not listening? Because
you're assuming they're not going to be listening?
Yes, because I'm sitting here thinking about it, right? I personally feel like by the time most people have sex, right, they know what happens from that. It's just more so, I guess, like I'm like not having the discipline or something, or not being able to control your hormones to a certain extent. Because I feel like I'm thinking about myself, right? When it start calling, it just start calling. Like I didn't ask for it. You get what I'm saying? I didn't ask for it to be in my mind. Like,
right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Turned on, okay.
And even to attempt to go to the next level, right? It was just.
But happening. That can happen to a young child, and a young child, just because they're turned on, doesn't mean they're educated on all the X, Y, and Z's of sex.
Right. I guess.
And to your point, why don't you think your child would listen to you? Like, why do you think it's just gonna go through one ear and out the other?
Because not even just say listen to me. Not even that. I feel like I knew about, like I said, I had to talk at 17.
That's late.
I know exactly, right?
But that's not when. Okay.
My attempt was probably 5 years before that. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. So 5 years before that, it's like 12.
Yeah. And then I knew about it before that.
But did you know that you can get pregnant from that?
Yes.
That? At what age? Do you
I feel like I understood that at least fourth or fifth grade. I understood that.
Well, okay. So then, that would be a different conversation. So if you're telling your child fourth, fifth grade, they're probably, how old were you? Like 8, 7. I don't know how old I was. No, fourth or fifth, you're like 10.
Yeah.
10-ish. So by that time, you're explaining where babies come from. So they kind of have some understanding.
Yeah.
But then maybe at 13 and higher, you have to take it deeper to where you talk about like STIs and the reality of pregnancy. Because if a child is, let's say, maybe 10, 11, and they haven't had their menstrual cycle yet, then they can't get pregnant, you know, if they are not ovulating. So at that point, it's not necessarily a reality for them. But at 13, when that's like an average age, now it's becoming more so like 11, 12.
Yeah.
But it's like the average age for it. You have to bring these realities, because now you go out there and make that decision, you can truly get pregnant and bring home a baby. True. And then what do you do from there? And same, you can have an STD that could be curable or not curable.
Right.
And so I think it's just at that age, you take it even a step further, because, you would hope younger than that, they're not having sex.
Yeah.
I mean, you would even hope at that age they're not having sex, but it's a reality that could happen.
So this is my question then. The same way adults choose to move, right? And eventually have sex. Do you see it as everything we tell a child, even if they start becoming like 13, 14 and they're interested in doing it or whatever the case may be, right? You guys should have seen your face when they showed the medal. Yeah, you did. But everything you tell them, right? Is it necessarily supposed to deter them away from doing it?
Your goal is not deterrent. Your goal is education. Now, take it a step further. I do believe everyone should share your values surrounding sex with your child.
Mm-hmm.
But just like, we're all autonomous beings, and even if our parents wanted us to wait till marriage or something, and let's say we didn't, then you can't control what your child's going to do. You can hope and pray, and you can share your values and say, like, to have sex, like, you should be in a loving, committed marriage or relationship, and you really love this person. You don't want to just have sex with anybody.
Right.
You talk about them soul ties, like, you discuss certain values surrounding it, but your goal is not to just say, listen, like, we saw a video earlier and the mom was talking to her young children. The oldest, I think, was in 7th grade, and she was like, yeah, if you have sex at a young age, you'll die. Just literally, you'll die. And your
friends that's telling you that they doing it, they're lying.
Because they'd be dead. You die from toxic shock. But it's like that. Okay, that's not realistic. And I don't think it's the best thing to say. But yeah, so your goal as a parent is not to deter, it's to educate. Fun fact, they actually said children who learn and are aware about sex actually wait longer than those who had no clue.
Okay. Yeah. I could see that.
You get jiggy with that?
I mean, after my attempt, I did. I feel like if my grandmother knew what was up, so she ended up stopping that. But I feel like if not, then I probably would have been the wild cannon from there. But
after you had some type of understanding,
yeah, and I feel like I had some understanding. I had my almost attempt. It's like, oh, I get this. You know, let me get back to my video games in my life.
That makes me think. What about, because children are imitators. They imitate what they see, right? So what about, like, if your child's having a play date and, they're trying to imitate, like, playing house. Like, we all played house growing up, right? I mean, I did. And I know you did. So it's like, what if they're like, oh, husband and wife, they see you guys kissing. They see you grabbing a little cheek here and there, What if you catch your child
doing stuff like
that while they're playing house?
Yeah,
and like I told you guys, moms, quick question, quick caveat while you marinate.
While I marinate on what?
You were there during the sex ed class. What would you do? Or what you would do?
Because that's what you said it was from.
But I think I have multiple. But I'm just trying to remember. But yeah, I told you. She always brought up the story about my face. But yeah, so what would you do if they're children, just playing house, wanting to be like mom and dad. You got some, people who are very affectionate and touchy, and that we are. So what if your child just like playing house, the wife's cooking up a little meal, and he just comes behind her? Good job, honey.
I would probably laugh to. I would go. Because I would like turn around and get all my giggles out, right? And then immediately go over there and snatch him up. Like, yo,
that's
hold on, listen. Go ahead. Like, yo, you can't be doing that. Y'all playing house.
You're gonna snatch him up?
Not snatch him up, but like, yo, like, no, come on, man. Like, you
but
can't.
Dad, I'm the husband.
Yeah, and I will hope that the conversation leads to that. You get what I'm saying? If he feel like that's why he doing that, I could explain to him, but y'all playing. You get what I'm saying? Like, y'all playing. It's just like football. It's not real if you playing flag. It's not actually tackling. It's not. You're not. Don't
Dad,
go.
You told me every time I practice something to do it like it's the real performance.
Not like that. That stuff you only do when you get a real wife.
Cindy, will you marry me? Okay, Aunt Chi said ground rules, no inappropriate touching. So I think it goes back to where we said like private parts.
Yeah.
And knowing that you don't touch someone else's private parts.
Yeah. And I guess, and she, yeah, pretty much, because, yeah. But, yeah. No slapping on the butt, none of that.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. So.
That's, yeah. It's just crazy when I'm sitting here thinking about it. It's like, man, we was 11, 12 slapping butts.
In basketball?
No.
Oh, just in school? Like fresh little kids?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that is environment too.
Yeah, it is definitely part of the environment.
Yes.
You know, because I don't even think the girls didn't like it either. I think
Because
it was
it's attention.
Yeah, it was attention that they understood, you know.
Right.
Camille says, hey man, keep your hands to yourself. Haha. Kids just can't keep it in their mind for when they get older. No.
What?
They can't keep it in their mind.
Can't they just keep it in their mind when they get older and get married?
Oh,
yeah. Goodness. Yeah. So, I just had a thought. 1 second.
Okay, so all right. Maybe not house, because I feel like house is a young age. Mm-hmm. What if you see your child doing this type of stuff around 12, 13, like around their friends?
Whew. In our house, we'd be having a big old discussion. So, and I guess, that's interesting, because is it a time to have a discussion with the whole room? And is that overstepping a boundary?
If somebody else could?
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I could pull my child to the side and say, honey, I understand you guys are playing around. However, we discussed that, you don't do X, Y, and Z at this age. It's not appropriate.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you also include someone else's child in that conversation?
I think we'll be having dinner with the Pearsons.
With the Pearsons? Mr. and Mrs. Pearson, yeah, you coming over tonight.
Yeah. Maybe not right away, because we don't want the kids to feel uncomfortable or nothing like that.
Right.
So I don't want them to make it seem like they did anything wrong. We need to have dinner right away.
Okay, good.
But we probably need to sit down with the parents, get to know the parents a little bit more, and let them know what we was aware of.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
So they can have a conversation with their child, right, and then set up those boundaries. And I think that's another important thing. So kind of just like keeping your hands to yourself is just explaining the boundaries to your child, right, of how you act and interact. And like, because another thing is when your child has their first boyfriend or girlfriend, it's like, what are the rules surrounding that?
Well, I would, and that's what we're getting into. Okay. I guess for my son now, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess for a daughter too. I mean, it might work a little bit different. But you have to have a conversation in a way, or to where there's a mutual understanding about what's going on here, and the understanding of privacy and everything like that. Because I mean, and not trying to be like too candid or nothing, right? But I think about like with us, right? Our first time everything leading up to that, right, was a kind of, if you really sit back and think about it, it was like, it was an understanding that it was private. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna do what I want to do, or it was still an understanding that was private that led up to that, and then it's kind of like a permission thing to do. So like a respect, like you're saying that it wasn't like you just figured, oh, I could get her, some. It was like a respectful thing, and it was kind of feeling out like the energy of me and you, and right. Don't just be just time. Cause your hormones going, you get what I'm saying? Back, Playboy. Yeah, you playing house and behind her in the kitchen doing all the extra. Cause your hormone, you can't do that. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a really great point, baby. And I think another point to add to that is teaching your children how to speak up. Yeah. And not be afraid of the social pressures, because that's a huge thing. People would lie about being virgins nowadays because so many people are out there just, and being all around town. And with that stuff is being aware of other people's feelings too. Yeah. Because some people don't speak up. Yeah, that's true. And you got to be the one to realize that this ain't right. And I'm a chill. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Because those are the type of situations, especially for guys, I think could lead to like some trouble. Bad things. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's super important to talk to your children about boundaries, especially young men, right? Talking to them about, just respect and making sure that, his significant other is ready to take the next step and comfortable and
knowing how to try to have some type of self-control.
Yeah, and girls too. I mean, there's some wild girls out there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's some wild girls out there that made me feel uncomfortable before. So you get what I'm saying? It's just maybe too straightforward with it, and just
aggressive.
Yeah, ways I wouldn't even go about it. So
so both sides. So everybody just needs to know,
right?
Like, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to say no. Make sure you have respect and you respect what the other person wants or does not want.
Right. So that's huge.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
But so go ahead. You're gonna say something?
Okay, so we talking about the birds and the bees and all of that, right? From not an older woman, but no, a woman with more experience, right?
A wise woman.
And just everyone in here. Do you have a talk with your mother about when you're ready to have a child? Is there a conversation like that?
I mean, I told my mom I'm ready to have a child, and I feel like Hey, Dame.
What's up, Damien?
I feel like once I become pregnant, I probably would talk more because the process of getting pregnant, not too much.
Yeah.
Not too much. Too many combos about that.
Well, this past weekend, I think it was Aunt Lucy that mentioned that she had those type of talks.
Yeah.
So, with whether it was her nieces or whatever.
Yeah. So I do think that. Hold on, guys. Oh, my hand's real clear. We're just thoughts. I
think it's trying to get us.
There we go. So yeah, I never really thought to have a conversation in depth of I'm ready,
Right.
I'm ready now, what do I do or what's next? But I think once I am pregnant, I would talk to my mom and be like, what symptoms did you have? And I'd want to know how she felt carrying me and what things she experienced and, tips and tricks. If I'm experiencing nausea, I have some naturopathic things, but she's also into holistic healing and she knows a lot of old wives' tales and things our ancestors did. So I would go to her,
right.
And just ask her for her advice based off of her experience. And same with your mom.
Right.
It's your mom, both of them can't wait. So it's I would go to both of them and just have this discussion and just say, yeah, I'm feeling this. And I'm sure they would check in and they would just, I'm sure without even asking, and they would tell me certain things.
So you touched on a big piece on why I really kind of asked, but ancestral things. And I kind of wonder, is there a missing link somewhere where maybe you talk to somebody about this next stage in life where there's some type of, whether ceremony, blessings, cleansings, or whatever anything you may do before moving forward,
Yeah, I know in African traditions, there are different ceremonies and cleansings and things. And a lot of actually Eastern traditions there are. In our families, I don't know, I don't remember any of them being practiced per se. But, that would be a great thing. If there's any traditions within your family, to just ask grandparents, parents on what those are and, continue that tradition. I think that is special.
Right.
Yeah, that's a nice little point.
Your mom said, it.
Yes, ma'am. But yeah.
But overall, with the whole birds and the bees talk, because man, time is flying.
Yeah, wow.
We're already up to 43 minutes. But I think the huge thing is to first, as a parent, you have to be comfortable with sexuality yourself.
Yes.
And not look at it as this taboo thing, this super, super private thing that is just not happening in America or in our society, period. I mean, you have kids today that think they're a different sex, or feel like they're a different sex. So that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So it's a reality. I think it starts there as being comfortable with yourself first, and then easing it into your child's mental to where they are comfortable with sexuality
and their own sexuality.
Right.
Yeah, they have to be comfortable. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a fine line, because I still wonder, like, with gender neutral and all this other stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it gets a little weird, I think.
I think that depends on the parent, like how they choose to raise their child. And I do think that because after we had that conversation last week where we talked about like double standards, of course we had our late night talk with Booby, and she made a good point. Like certain things, even though our intent may be, like some people said, oh, I'm not going to do double standards. I think I even said I'm not going to have double standards for my children. Certain things are just kind of like ingrained in us from society. So we do them without even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's innate.
Certain things are innate. Yeah. And then certain things are like society pushed and just that we don't even think about. But it's just, we've done it for so long that's just what it is.
I do wonder though, how much is society and how much is actually innate? Because I think sometimes we don't really know how long things been going on. You get what I'm saying?
It's always like a mixture of nature versus nurture. And certain things, I think, even if a family said, okay, we're going to try to raise our child gender neutral, certain characteristics would still come out of a young boy, and certain characteristics would still come out of a young girl. I think that part of it is innate.
Right.
So, yeah. So I think, like you said, just making sure that you're comfortable with your own sexuality, you discuss it with your child so that they can be comfortable with theirs. And then just keeping that open line of communication. So if your child ever comes to you about anything, even if it's off the wall, you have the conversation that's age appropriate, that you protect them from online, especially online pornography, the shows that like you said, a lot of parents nowadays watch cartoons before they even let their child watch cartoons, just to make sure that, it's okay.
Yeah. Yes. That's huge. Is that stuff. Like, I mean, make sure you have your blocks online and stuff like that.
Right.
And make sure you're paying attention. Because that's how I found out through porn.
Yeah.
Late night TV.
And in TV, because it's like late night TV. You just flip into the channels. Not that you're looking for it because you didn't even know it existed.
Right.
But then you bump to it and you're like,
Yeah, you flipping through the channels one night and you just go so fast and you pass something and you're like, let me back up real quick. Damien says, how would you handle your child identifying as a trans child? Maybe next week. Y'all know I'm like a fake producer in my head.
Okay.
We could probably touch on it real quick, right? You think?
Last one, real quick.
You don't want to wrap up for an hour? No?
We can. Go ahead.
Okay. How would you handle that?
Or you're asking me, or you're gonna go first?
I could go first.
Go ahead.
I'll be upset.
Mm-hmm.
I could be honest about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably be upset. And we're gonna have a lot of talks and go to counseling and stuff like that. So I have to understand.
Yeah.
For me, I have to understand because I don't understand that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Because there are certain things that like we don't understand. We don't experience that mindset or that feeling that you're not in the right body.
Right.
So it would truly take like understanding. So it's not I don't think either one of us would like demean our child or say, oh, get out, I disown you, or make them feel bad. But it would really just be like, what do you mean by this? And like, really, let's get an understanding, sit down, talk about it. Because children, late night TV, because children, especially depending on the age, but especially young children, sometimes they say certain things because they saw it on TV or they heard it somewhere, but they don't truly know what it means. Or it's, they don't have a full understanding of it themselves. So I want to know, like, is this something that you truly feel, or is this something that somebody influenced you into, or is this like, just help me understand. Would you even learn
about this?
Yeah.
Would you learn about this to the point where you want to be this? You feel like you feel like you're that. Where did you get this information from? What influenced you? And that would be tough for me because how we even sitting here talking, I would be monitoring certain things already. So if that kind of like, excuse my words, I don't want to offend nobody, but if that was to just slip through the cracks and I'm like, with it, like,
right. If it's nothing that was introduced to your child and then all of a sudden they come to you with it.
Yeah.
But then okay. So devil's advocate. So let's say it was nothing that was introduced to your child and they just said, no, I think I'm a girl. Like, then like it was no influence from anything. Then what? Is it still just like the counseling and everything to really understand?
The first time or two, I probably won't really think counseling or nothing like that. I'm not even gonna lie. I think it'd probably be like if they keep on with this, you get what I'm saying? Like, because I know it ain't gonna be no nothing for you to act out this way. Like, unless you sneaking into your stuff.
I mean, kids play dress up and stuff all the time. So I get.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna I don't think I would have given you anything to play dress up in other than you going to your mother's stuff for my son.
Also, though, the thing is, it's not necessarily what you're wearing. If they
acting and
like mentally, if they think that they're not that,
yeah,
so you don't even have to act a certain type of way. Or maybe you do.
You remember this weekend when we seen a kid do something that you get what I'm saying? So if my child, right, constantly told me that if they told me that they was a girl, right, they felt like they was a girl. That's me in a personal conversation, right? And then we out, and that's what they do. You get what I'm saying? I'm gonna think about it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, like
they feel this way.
They really feel. Yeah, but I get what you're saying though, because like the first time, it's like you don't want to just ignore it, but it's like you're trying to really see because children change their mind. Like they play different things too, so it's like you don't want to. I think sometimes parents, because they want to be very open to their child and make them sure they feel comfortable and stuff, sometimes they end up pushing it on the child. So like a child may say it one time and then the parent's like, okay, so we got to get all of this in line and in order without really fully having understanding of what their child actually means by it.
Or digging too deep into it. Because it's like having a conversation. You ever got a surprise coming for you, right? And then you just have the conversation with somebody like you know what it's about, and then they just telling you everything. Now they're exposing you to the secret. Now, what I look at it like, sometimes I feel like with a child, maybe they might bring something to you, right? But maybe they don't understand it all the way. And I'm not going to entertain it. I want to know where you got this from, but I'm not going to entertain it to this super, super level where I think I need to be adding this into your mind.
Yeah, I think it's really tough when you don't have the understanding, and we don't have the understanding. So it would really be like really discussing it with our child and trying to understand, but not pushing, like, because there's parents who give their children hormone replacement therapy, which I honestly don't agree with. But it's different for everybody. I feel like there's certain people who you've seen who feel like later on in life it was a mistake and that they didn't want to. There's other people who feel like they wish their parents would accept it. So it's just a realm of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dame says.
But you missed one, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Damien, first, no, we started at 8 your time today.
Yeah, we changed the time when daylights came.
Right. But also Damien says, I have questions and I also have a stance. We need a part 2 in this discussion and circling around about having to talk about sex with your trans child. That, oh man, yeah. Most trans children they feel that they are not in the right sex from birth, identifying at early ages as 2 and 3 years old.
I don't know why people say, not to laugh. I don't know why people always say like people express something at birth, when at birth it's like they're an infant. They're not really expressing anything to you.
Right.
But I mean, he said, identifying something at 2 or 3. Okay. I can understand that. But a lot of people say certain things like, I felt like this since birth. Like, like, and not even just as far as like sexuality, but just things in general. And I'm just like, at birth, just in general, not just this conversation. But yeah, I think that's interesting when people use that term. But I have heard, and that's where to me, it's just interesting is when really young children do say things like that. To me, it's like, like what, like it's like you said, like we said, it's a lack of understanding on what makes a child feel like that at such a young age.
Right. And we may have to have a part 2 about this next week, at least about that part, because that's new to society in my eyes.
It's not new to society, but it's more prevalent.
Yeah, it's becoming more prevalent, especially within our community.
Yeah.
Where this is just happening now. It's just out there. And sometimes sometimes and I think sometimes you don't. Yeah,
which that's a whole different story.
Well, that's part of that story, I think.
Yes. How? Through Gaga Cuckoo. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any other topics that you want us to discuss for the following weeks, let us know. We would be happy to discuss them.
Right. And as far as any of these conversations go, if you ever see a topic and you think someone would be good to come in and speak with us and share their point of view, let us know so we could have them on as a guest. We could throw them in here and we can have a conversation with them.
Yes. And make sure you guys follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Power Trip Podcast. And then also, if you just want to email us, you can email us at thepowertrippodcast@gmail.com. Well, as always, it's been real.
Deuces, people.
Good night.